I'm Eric Thompson. I was born and raised in Alaska. Been here my whole life. I've raised all my kids here. I actually worked for the McKenna brothers. It was Mark and Matt's 40th birthday party, and Corey, their office manager, sent me a text message inviting myself and my wife to the party, and we were, super happy to go. And I think the Palins showed up around 8:30 or 9ish maybe. I'm not the kind of person that's going to go, "Oh, Sarah Palin," run up to them and bother them. And I just figure, hey, with every celebrity, they got enough going on. They don't need me running around. I kept to myself and stayed away from them and let them mingle in and talk with whoever they wanted to talk to. And at some point in the evening, it must have been around 11, maybe right around 11. I was at the far end of the hangar, and I saw Steve and his wife and their son come kind of at a quick pace, marching back across the grass, and they came up to us. And at this point, Connor said, "Wow, that was effing weird. That was weird, or messed up, or something to that effect." And both my wife and I were like, we didn't see anything, so we were like, "Well, what's going on?" And at this point, Connor's dad, Steve, said, "Wow, Connor just got jumped by Track Palin and 3 of his buddies." From the account I got from Steve, is as his son tried to leave, he kind of got jumped. His kid punched somebody. They, in his own defense, and there was a little scrum. And the 3 other guys jumped him after he hit them, and Steve jumped in and was breaking it up. And at this point, Todd jumps in and puts Steve in a headlock. And at this point, Steve, to break loose of the headlock, elbows him and hits him in the nose. They get apart, they spread apart, and he says, "We're not doing this." Steve, that's what he told me. He said, "We're not doing this." And he grabbed his kid and his wife, and that's when they marched up to us. And about this time, I see I'm standing with my wife next to me. Steve and his son are standing behind me, and Steve's wife, Melissa's, in front of me. And about this time, the 2 Palin girls come marching from the far end of the house, and they're coming. They're marching like they got a mission. They're headed straight for Steve's wife. Corey Klingmeyer, the owner of the home, gets in front of them and cuts them off. He stops them from getting any closer to Melissa, and he says, "Hey, this isn't happening. You girls need to go. Get off my property. It's time to go back to Wasilla. You guys need to leave." And he's not calling them anything. He's not being, he's not using any descriptive adjectives. He's just being really, really polite. He says, "It's time. You guys need to leave." And they take about 3 steps back, and Bristol just reaches back and punches him in the face, comes back here and catches him right in the chin. And I was like, "What the hell?" Really? My wife's like, "Oh my God, what is she doing?" And he's still walking forward, and she's walking backwards, and she hits him at least 6 times. With straight, hard punches to the face. And I heard Corey said, "Really, you're doing this? This is what are you doing? This is ridiculous. Stop, And, meanwhile, she hits him about 3 more times. And at some point, he finally just kind of pushes her away from himself, and then she tumbles and falls, and then that's when Todd, I heard Todd say, "What are you calling my daughter a slut for?" or something to that effect. And I heard Corey say, "I would never do that. Really, Todd, that's not me. I didn't call your daughter anything." And then a bunch of people, there's a big, a big crowd gathered, and I couldn't see what happened, really. Apparently there was another scrum, and kind of like a dog pile or whatever. I didn't see it. So, and then the Palins were piled into their car, and that's when Track, or whatever his name is, he had his shirt off, and he's flipping everybody off, screaming "F you." And then Sarah screamed out of the Hummer, "Don't you know who we are?" And the police were there, and quite frankly, Corey was worried that they were going to try and file assault charges on him for, you know, maybe pushing her down after she hit him in the face so many times, or maybe because of the scrum with Todd, or, you know, I mean, you just never know. And he said, hey, would you do me a big favor? Would you go give your statement? I said, absolutely. I was approached by several, the ABC News people had come to me and told me that my information was going to be public and that my statements were already going to be published. It was expressed to me that was going to come out because of Freedom of Information Act, that my stuff was going to come public and they're going to use my statements if I want to say them or not. They're going to print it. And they said, you might get ahead of it by saying it right now so people will know. And of course, I feel now that I was just exploited. The next thing you know, it's, you know, on the front page of the newspaper and it's national news, and, you know, so, you know, Monday morning, Friday, I got a call from Matt, the owner, one of the owners, McKenna Brothers, and he just said, hey, I just saw it was like 8:30. He said, we just watched the, you know, news clip that you went on Good Morning America, and my brother and I can't have this. You're done. Turn in your truck. And, you know, I was like, geez, really? I mean, you know, I didn't say anything about you guys. You know what I mean? I didn't even mention you in the clip. Your name wasn't even brought up, you know? And I couldn't understand why it would reflect badly on them. The boys weren't out in the front yard punching Corey in the face. You know, I wasn't in the front yard, an employee of McKenna Brothers Paving, punching somebody in the face. You know, that was the Palins. They did this, not me. Anyway, and that's when I got a call. Right, he just hung up. And then it was whoever, one of the news agencies called, and I said, look, I'm not talking to anybody anymore. It's already cost me my job, and don't print that. And I don't want that out. And then it was everywhere. It's pretty sad because I do love them. They're good people. And maybe they felt that I betrayed them, you know, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas or whatever. But I was never told at any point not to say anything. And whatever you do, don't talk to the media, or no one should say anything about this. Because I don't really believe it's their style. You know, they're Americans, you know, we believe in freedom of speech, you know, and, you know, I don't know how or why they might have thought it would reflect on them, but it unfortunately has now, more than what the Palins have done, you know, which is really bad, because the last thing in the world I would ever want is bad press for them, because they are good people. You know, maybe Palins do wield a little more, you know, power, and apparently they've run over everybody they've ever had anything to do with. You know, anybody that's ever come against them, they seem to just, you know, find a way to destroy them, you know. And I've had many people call me and tell me that, man, you screwed up. You should have never said anything about them. And the spin doctors are coming out. They're going to twist everything you say around. And there was plenty of people there that saw the same thing. There's plenty of people there that could totally step up and say what they saw, but they're afraid.